everyone, it's Joanna from Nesting Story, and today I want to share something with you that has really changed the parenting game for us. You see, a few weeks ago we started to run into some really difficult and challenging situations with behavior with some of our kids. So if you haven't been following for a while, we have 4 kids, a son named Holden. He will be turning 10 soon, a daughter who's named Bo, and she's 8 years old, and 4-year-old twin girls, Mia and Everly, who will be 5 in July. Now, the behavior issues we were having was only from our girls. Holden's been thriving and doing well, and he really is good at self-regulating, so this has not needed to be applied to him. And something quickly I want to say about parenting that I've found, and I was one of 4 kids and my parents did this for me and it really worked, is to really parent your kids by their individual personalities. So I think it's great to have an idea, make sure that you, your partner or your spouse, get on the same page about what different consequences there would be and boundaries and things like that, and just start across the board with the same thing, but then see how everyone's different personalities are and see who is where with their maturity levels. And a great example is recently, even though Mia and Everly are the exact same age, we had different dinner time rules with Everly. I made a video about this and I'll add that in the description below, but basically Everly couldn't sit at the table as well as Mia could at dinner, and she would just melt down. So we just decided that we wouldn't push it as hard at that time, and it really worked because now she's sitting at the table with us. So this situation is something that we've really felt like it's needed to be for our girls and not our son. So we were having behavior issues like constant meltdowns, fighting, like extreme fighting with each other, sibling fighting, and lying, different things in there. And I'm not looking for perfect children. I know that there's going to always be an element of all of that we are going to have day to day, but it was just off the charts, extreme and very stressful, to the point where there was a couple days I actually just burst into tears because I'm such a problem solver. And when I come up against a challenge with my kids, I tend to be able to solve the problem, and I just could not figure this one out. Finally, I realized that a lot of the issues we were having was really correlated and tied in with their iPads and screen time. Now, all 4 of our kids have their own iPads. We bought them each used iPads from Kijiji, and they had to be at least 4 years old when we bought them. And it started back when we drive to Florida, which is a 2-day long drive, and it's something that we started years ago, and we've really enjoyed having that for our kids. And we there's positives and negatives, but something I've really enjoyed was it's a great consequence to just take the iPads away because it's something that they love and they don't want to lose, but it's also nice for them, especially after school, and for my sanity, to have them be able to go on their iPads with their headphones on and just decompress after school, and we all just can catch our breath. We are also really vigilant about what our kids do on their iPads. So all of our kids basically use it for Netflix, a few games, educational or appropriate for their age, and our son is the only one who actually has YouTube, and he knows his certain channels he can watch, and we go through his history and he doesn't go from those. We've tried YouTube with our second child, but we just didn't feel like she was mature enough to really navigate YouTube very well. So that's kind of what we use it for. It's mostly Netflix and kids shows. So it was getting out of control. Now I live in Canada, and our weather has been extreme, so we've really been cooped up and probably relying a bit too much on iPads lately, and there were no boundaries, and they were getting out of control, and there were meltdowns before school and meltdowns at bedtime, and really hard to transition them away from their screen time. So finally, about a week and a half ago, I took all the iPads away from the girls. They went away for about 3 days, and we really limited if they got any screen time in our house from the TVs we had in our house. And I'll tell you, it's one of those times as a parent that you're just like, I've got to stand firm. I've got to stand firm and not cave, because it can be so easy to just hand a kid an iPad or turn on a TV to make life easier for everybody, because it does take more parenting work to parent when your child is not just plugged in. So, but we wrote it out, and by day 3, I saw a huge change in everybody. I would have a child come up and ask me if they could help me wash the dishes, or could they help me fold laundry, and they were starting to get along and work out their differences and want to play together. So it made a huge difference. So I knew I wanted to give the iPads back, but I did not want to go back to time with iPads and no boundaries. So I decided to put a system in place. Years ago, I made a video on here sharing something that I put in place. I had made iPad passes and it had to do with chores and systems for our older kids. Here's what I did then. I've made them each a 1 hour time card. When I give them this is something that as long as they've done what's expected of them every day, they get 1 hour. When 1 hour's up, their iPad goes back in the charging station. They can earn 30 minutes bonus time by doing extra chores around the house. But once they're up, they're up. Now I'm making bedroom checklists to put on their walls so that when they leave the room, they have to look at it and make sure they've gone through everything instead of me pestering them. Bo's, because she can't read yet, I'm gonna draw pictures, and Holden, I'm gonna write his. Okay, so I've written a list for Holden. And then for Bo, I've drawn pictures here to help her know what she needs to do in the morning in her room, especially before she can earn her 1 hour. So unlike that system, which I think was way too complicated and hard to keep up with when it's busy day-to-day lives, I just totally simplified this. So I made iPad passes for their iPads. So basically I just created a whole bunch of 1 hour iPad passes. I just used some thick cardstock, and on one side it says iPad pass and on the other side it says 1 hour. So there's a whole bunch of these passes, and what we've done is on weekdays when there's school, they get one iPad pass, and it cannot be used before school. They get it after school, and they get to decide when they want to cash it in. We do have some boundaries, so all iPads go off at 7:30. So they gauge if they're going to use it before then. And then on weekends or any days or holidays or PA days that they don't have school, they get 3 1 hour iPad passes. They can carry up to 1 hour over if they don't use it. So they can have up to 4 hours on a non-school day, but no more than that. And that's actually something that our kids did yesterday. So something we added after the fact was we added numbers. So 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3 to the corner. And we put an initial for their name. The reason for this is one day last weekend, one of our kids came to cash in a pass, and my husband Mike and I thought that they had used them all, and they insisted they hadn't, and I feel badly because once we figured everything out, we realized that they were telling the truth and we doubted them. So this was a really good way to start keeping track of how many they've used instead of thinking they maybe have found one of their siblings and used that instead. So when they get their iPad pass, we just turn the timer on their iPad. We set it to 1 hour. I also glance at the clock just in case anyone is going to try to trick us, which has happened a couple times. So once the timer is set and it goes off after an hour, they know they have to bring their iPad to us and put it back on the counter. So it has worked really well. In fact, our kids have learned how to put their own timers on and have been really, they've stopped this obsession about always having their iPads and just started to discover the world and everything. So we've been doing this now for well over a week, and we're well into a weekend, a long weekend now, and well, I'm filming this, and it's a game changer. I've said a couple times over the past couple of days to Mike, like the behavior is so different and people are getting along. Of course there's moments, but nothing like it was. Like, we have a peaceful home now. So our daughter Bo asked if we're gonna have to do this forever, and I said, well, you know, for the foreseeable future. I have no reason to go back on this, and I think it creates great boundaries. It's simple. The kids actually kind of enjoy it because it's almost like an exchange of money or checking something out at like a library. They don't mind this system, and we're just seeing huge benefits. So I'm guessing that the iPads were a part of the problems we were having, and this has just created more boundaries. Kids crave boundaries, and it's just been worth it for us to take some time to really put boundaries in place instead of letting everyone just kind of run free. And I'm sharing this because, well, first of all, I always kind of wait to see if something works before I share it, and it has totally worked, so it's time to share. But I'm also sharing it because it's just been such a massive game changer. It's like a totally different life now and manageable, and it's just simple and it works. So if you're struggling with that, if you're trying to create boundaries with devices, which a lot of us, you know, I was born in 1983, so I didn't grow up with any of this stuff, and we're still trying to navigate this whole world of devices and electronics for our kids. So if you're trying to figure it out too, this could be a great solution for you. Let me know, do your kids have their own personal devices? And if so, how do you create boundaries around that if you do at all? Do you think this system could work for your family? Let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.